Here we go.
All right, welcome to CFM Roundtable, hosted by DaddyLeagues. This is me, DaddyLeagues and Nate Lejeune. That's me. And so, thank you guys for tuning into the show today. It's bright and early, okay? So, no coffee, no Red Bull in me, none of that stuff. You got to be a little patient with the stuttering, but I got a bottle of water here, and I got a couple of my new friends with us. So thank you for tuning in to the show. I think today's going to be really entertaining. Fellas, thank you for waking up early on a Saturday morning. I'd like to do is we'll go from left to right. Just introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what league are you representing, and we'll let everybody just introduce themselves.
Yeah, I'm Logan from Gridiron Gamers. And we've been around for 8 years. Like I said, last podcast, we've done some big things. I'm really glad to be part of this conversation because I think it's much needed. I think that's the one thing that we're all missing. We're missing a collective voice. So I'm just glad to be a part of it. If you're looking for us, it's Gridiron Gamers, GIG for short. We got 180 views last week, I think. So we're making some moves out there. So everyone who watched, appreciated the show, showed us some love. Thanks for that.
Lewis, why don't you go ahead? Yeah, go ahead, PX1.
I'm Majesty 95 from PX1 Sports. We've been around for 4 years now, and we are just trying to accelerate in the CFM space, innovate, create new things. Talk to the devs, make the game better, bring new features and ideas to CFM, and make it as cool and outstanding as possible.
See, here's my dilemma. I hate that guy that introduces someone so that they can introduce themselves. So I was trying to just leave it open so everybody could introduce themselves, but clearly that's not going to work. So Lewis, go ahead, introduce yourself, buddy.
Okay, my name is Lewis. I'm the commissioner of the Dynasty. We've been around for about 2 seasons, 2 Madden versions, so we're pretty young in the Madden CFM community. My main goal is to help promote the CFM community, help push EA forward so that they eventually at some point give us what we want as CFM guys within the as far as different features within the game. So I have this plan where we help them sell more games. They'll eventually will help us, help us by putting the features in the game. That's my thinking. So that's my goal of my league as far as helping to promote EA and promote the CFM community.
I dig it. Pootie T, man with the greatest name on the show. Introduce yourself, bud.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right, cool. I'm Pootie T, and I'm representing Madden Ballers Club. We've been around since Madden 12, so this is our 6th year of running year-round. We run year-round every year. We've never taken a break. We've got a great group of guys. We've got some guys in our league that's still been with us since Madden 12. And, we just really want to see CFM promoted in itself as the mode itself for all of us who love it, and try to help further it forward. It's got a lot of work to do.
And Steven, you just joined us a little late, but I'm assuming that you're going to be Logan's co-commish because he told me that we had a guy who is probably still sleeping on the West Coast. So I'm assuming that you introduce yourself for us.
I'm Steven. I am Logan's assistant co-commish there in Gig and Gridiron Gamers. Thanks for having me.
There you go. And I'm Nate Lejeune. I am current founding commissioner, current commissioner of OMFL, which started in 2001. So as far as I know, we're the longest online nonstop CFM in existence. And I'm also the founder of Grown Folks Gaming online community. And so we're just a community of online sports leagues. So everything from NBA to golf to FIFA to, of course, Madden and lots of other things in between. So thank you guys again for being here. Quick question before we get started. Is anybody going to this EA conference that I've been told about that's coming up?
EA Play.
Yeah, that. Anybody going to that?
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
You want to fund my trip? I'll be there, man.
Hey, that's what I told somebody. Somebody's like, are you going? I was like, unless you're paying, I'm not going.
You're going to be there too, Lewis?
Yes.
Cool. We'll definitely have to hook up while we're out there.
Okay.
How many of you guys also, just so that we kind of know who's out there? I've never been a game changer. I don't really know a ton about it, but how many of you guys are game changers?
I'm not.
None? Oh, okay. I thought we had some game changers here. Okay, well, EA, get with the picture, man. Come on.
Not yet, man. I'm open. Hit me
Yeah,
up.
I'm kind of open. I think it would be a neat experience. But anyway, so thank you guys again for joining us. Let's hop right in it. Nobody wants to listen to us ramble. I'm going to get straight to the point. Again, thank you guys for being here bright and early on a Saturday morning. And I want to get you off to your Saturdays with your families. I know my wife is already giving me the side eye. So let's just start at the basics of this conversation that's going to go probably span into several different podcasts. What does the word sim mean for you? And what I'm probably going to do is just, call on somebody to start the conversation so we don't all just start talking on top of one another. But after that person's done, feel free just to start talking. PX, you're such you don't shy away from it. Right? You're probably my guy that I'm the most worried about. But anyway, just picking with you. What does the word sim mean to you as a community, as a commissioner, as somebody that's in a CFM?
Well, I mean, for CFM, it means replicating the NFL as close as possible in game. You want to see everything happen from what you see in the NFL in the game. So, if you don't see 5 corner routes a game on 15-minute quarters in the NFL, then I don't want to see it in my game. I want to have the options to be able to shut it down. I don't want to see guys running 4 verts over and over or nickel blitz 2 over and over. I don't want to see anything that's not representative of real life. If it can't happen in the NFL, I don't want to see it in the game. From a CFM perspective, I also want roster building, the mimic real life. I want to have to make decisions. I want players that don't necessarily like playing in my scheme, don't like playing in my city, don't like my coach, whatever. And maybe they don't want to re-sign with me. And then other people will be like, hey, I really like your scheme or your success or whatever. And I want to come play with you and give me a discount, that kind of thing. I want to have schemes matter. I don't want to just be able to put any player in the league in my system and then be effective. I want there to be some kind of learning curve there and some penalties for not fitting your scheme, just real life, coaches, expanded coaches. I like to see stuff like that, but I just want to represent real life NFL football in the leagues. And because basically we're all there to try to live out our fantasies as a real GM or coach. So give us that opportunity, try to make that as realistic for us as possible.
Lewis, what does the word CFM mean to you as a CFM, or the word sim mean in your CFM community?
I agree with everything PX1 stated and with his statement. For me, I want it to be a chess match. I want you to, I said this on Twitter the other day, that users should have to outthink their opponent as opposed to using AI features or AI deficiencies within the game to win. I look at my Falcons in this past Super Bowl that we lost. We had a great game plan in the first half. Bill Belichick went to halftime, came back out with a new game plan, and in his history at this point, the Falcons did not raise the trophy. So to me, that's what sim means to me. The ability to outthink your opponent.
Can we just pause for a moment of silence for the Falcons Super Bowl season game? Okay, we can go back. All right.
Yeah, so it was tough, but to me, that's what sim is. Just outthinking your opponent. Making adjustments in game, along with all the GM stuff that goes into the game as well, as far as having to build your squad. I would love to see schemes matter in the game as well, to where you're just not able to, during free agency, just pick any player just because of the overall rating and add them to your team and move. That player should not be able to do that if he does not fit your scheme. So that's what sim means to me.
Steven, I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk before you're commissioner. So as a co-commissioner in Gridiron, what does the word sim mean to you?
Well, the word sim to me means bringing the most lifelike experience of playing in the NFL in our connected franchise leagues. And, being able to bring exactly what the other two guys just announced, being able to bring in players from other areas, but at least they have to fit your scheme, and being able to play that chess match one-on-one with your opponent.
Hoodie T, what does the word sim mean to your community?
Well, I mean, it's basically the same thing that everyone else here is saying. I mean, I think we all here want to represent as closely as possible real life football, but to us in our league and my own self, it also has to go along with, and something that gets left out sometimes is it has to go along with the constraints of a video game. There are just constraints to a video game that are not representable with real life. The AI and other things cannot be as smart as real life. There are things in the game that can take place, like money plays, that are not real life things. I mean, it's just not the way that it is. So to us, we try to limit anything that might be an AI exploit, or if you will, to just take that off the table. You can still, I mean, you still have, that over 500 plays. I mean, you can have 500 in your playbook. So you can use plays that aren't known to cause issues with the AI and still play a real game of football, And I think a lot of times that gets lost in the conversation of, what is sim? And then some people are like, well, it's got to be just like real life football. If it can happen in real life, it can happen in the game. And that would be true if the game's intelligence was up to level with real life, which it will never be because it's a video game, it's coding. There's always going to be things that, people will spend days probably as soon as they get the game studying to find ways to exploit the AI and then putting videos out for people to see. And then they go and, if you go into any lobby, if you go to any head-to-head game, you can see very clearly who's been watching videos. There's plenty of videos out there and people are running the same things all the time. So in a CFM sim league, most of them try to get rid of any doubt of those things being a part of their league because no one wants to see that. That's why most sim guys in leagues don't play head-to-head matches. They don't play MUT. They don't play draft champions. You can go to my league. You can go to our Discord chat and ask anybody in there. 80% of them won't touch those modes. And the reason is all you're going to do is play someone who wants to use exploits. And that's not fun for someone who wants to play a sim game. So I think it has a lot of different variables. And each league here represented today and all these other leagues, some people say, well, some leagues have too many rules, some have too little. Well, that's because the people in that league think these things shouldn't be a part of their league. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what I think is odd is like if you have too many or too little rules, then you're not sim because it's not exactly just like real life NFL rules. So I kind of think that that's kind of short-sighted in honesty.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah, we're
Okay, sorry, my deal freaked out for me real quick, so I had to mute everybody and unmute them. So Logan, I want to give you an opportunity. Talk about what sim means to your community.
Yeah, just for the sake of being different. I mean, I agree with what everyone said, including my co-commissioner. I mean, I think that's the bare bones of what sim means. It means trying to simulate, the NFL or football in general. And just like the last guy said, we can't always do that because of artificial, things in the game with programming and stuff, just like he said. But to extend the conversation, I would say we're all different, but we have to have this conversation as leagues, just like we're doing today. We have to have that conversation with our co-commissioners, our committee members on a constant basis. I think those are the leagues that truly do simulation the right way. We're always having quote unquote, I guess, league meetings about how could we make it better? How do we make it more realistic? I'm guessing some of you guys have maybe stricter trade, deadlines and rules that are different. We're strict on position changes. Just trying to mention things that we didn't touch on. I'm sure other leagues have different variances, but I think to be simulation, all those things have to be talked about. And, maybe a guy like PX, I don't know, but he seems like a really strong sim guy. So, for example, maybe he doesn't like trading very often. So trading in his league is harder than my league. I want to flip it on you, Nate. What do you think about sim, man? I know you have an interesting take.
Yeah, I do. So, there's so many things that you guys have said that I find really interesting and I agree with. So I just want to say that I love the wording of chess match and not trying to use AI flaws that really mess things up. What I want to kind of present to you is more the vein of how I think when it comes to this. And again, I'm not trying to get you guys to think like me. I'm interested to hear your take. So here is kind of my view on this, and that is in the past, Madden '01 to maybe '06 or '07, '08, somewhere in that time range, you could sim, replicate, do what you see on Sundays in the game, and leagues looked a lot alike. Um, where I want to push back on you guys and get your thoughts is I don't agree that in 2017 that you can simulate what you see on your TV on Sundays in the video game because I don't think that they 100% mesh together. I don't think that if you simulate everything that you see on Sundays in the NFL in a league that you will have a chess match back and forth not using flaws. I just don't because at the end of the day it's still a video game which can be figured out. We Pootie T talked about videos. Like you can figure out how to beat and break a game because at the end of the day, it is programming, it's code, it's a game. It has its flaws. It's never ever going to be perfect. Whereas in the NFL, what we see on Sundays is if you can't stop my corner route, then I'm going to throw 75 corner routes until you learn to stop it. Well, we don't want that in our game because that doesn't make for a chess match. In the NFL, I'm going to spread you out four wide a lot. I'm going to shotgun offense you a lot. I'm going to no huddle you a lot. Like you see that in the NFL because the NFL game is changing, but it doesn't correlate to our video game. So that's what I kind of want to throw out there as a question to you guys is can you simulate everything that you see on Sundays on the field and still have a chess match in your league without having a billion different rules?
Without a billion different rules, no.
No.
But I think with a lot of rules, you can. And I think we do a pretty good job of it. It's hard. It's hard to keep everybody on the same page. But our goal has always been to try to make because we do live broadcasts and we want when we're broadcasting and guys to tune in and be like, wow, that looks like real football. There's no glitches and stuff like that. Now it makes some rules that a lot of people don't like limiting routes. Like we can only throw 2 to 3 corner routes a game. We have limits on all of our routes to try, all based off of NFL stats. So if you put enough rules in, yes, you can limit the flaws, and if you get your guys to buy into it, but it's hard, and not a lot of people have the stick to itiveness to police that, and not a lot of guys honestly want to follow all the rules. So it's tough, but it can be done.
Yeah, I've got some other thoughts, but I want to get everybody else's thoughts. Do you feel like you need a lot of rules to simulate what you see on Sundays?
Well,
Yes.
This is Lewis from the Dynasty. We have a lot of rules, but I've come to find out that it was best for me to start moving to legislate through the sliders. Like we had guys that wanted to run the 4 verts pretty much the entire game. They were throwing all the league stats out of whack. So to combat that, my idea was to increase the fatigue sliders. So I slid the sliders to 70 and also pushed up injury. And my thought behind that was, okay, you run the plays that you want to run, but you're taking the risk like a real NFL coach. If you decide to run this player into the ground, he's going to get injured and he's going to be out for 6 weeks. So, or if you're doing funny business on the field, also it kind of limited the middle linebacker, covering the entire middle of the field because that player became fatigued and he wasn't as fast as he was at the beginning of the game. So me doing my research over because I just instituted that maybe like a season and a half ago because we were running into a lot of issues. So that kind of helped to alleviate some of the issues in the game. But I also have to, legislate through the rules as well. I don't stop any particular routes at this point because it really hasn't been an issue. But, maybe that's something that I'll have to look at moving forward as far as the dynasty goes.
So I want to kind of just let this soak and leave it as an open thing. Two other things that I want to present to you guys as we talk about, do you need a lot of rules to simulate what you see? Here are the other two questions that I'll throw out to combine with that one. So 3 questions floating that we can all just talk about. And I think that'll take up the rest of our time. We've got about 12 or 13 more minutes here. The little thing that I would ask for me, and this is, again, just how I think, and I'm not trying to get you guys to think like me. I'm just throwing this out there. That is, if you're putting all these rules in to make it more of a chess match, which we can all agree, we've all used that language, we all agree we want a chess match, a strategic game, then are you truly simulating what you see on Sundays? Because I think at the end of the day, the real word that we changed, and again, it's just us, we got away from sim to fair play, because that's what I want. I don't want to simulate what I see on Sundays, because if I simulate what I see on Sundays, I'm going to see the Broncos run a shotgun offense. In my league, personally, I don't see that because shotgun offenses are too strong. And I know that they're the guys that are like, oh, just learn how to stop it, blah, blah, whatever. That is like the go catch-all phrase that people use all the time. Or just get in the lab and learn how to stop it. No, that's kind of not the point for me. So we move to fair play because that's what we want. We have rules, and we have a lot of them up to some point, but we have rules for fair play because that's, at the end of the day, what I want. The other question that I wanted to throw out there with that in mind is, darn it, Lewis, I just lost it. You said something that caught my mind. Oh, that is it. As a commissioner, I've again, 16 years, I've learned so much for me the way I run my community. Do you find yourself creating rules for the 1%ers in your league instead of just saying, you know what? This place isn't for you. We apologize. There's a billion other leagues out there, but we're going to part ways and go find somebody else that fits. Because I did find, for me, again, you guys may not have done this, but for us, we found ourselves creating this really deep rule book where people were telling me they had to print out the rules and read rules while they play. And I'm like, that's not what I want. Like, I want this to be fun. That's not fun. And we were doing it for 2 guys or 3 guys that were just not fitting and were using AI flaws. So instead of doing a bunch of rules just for those 2 or 3 guys, we just told those 2 or 3 guys, this isn't for you. Like you can go find another place, but we're gonna go ahead and find somebody else to come and take your spot. And that way we are finding the guys that fit our gameplay. So 3 questions. Do you need a lot of rules for simulation? Do you feel like simulating what you see on Sundays is a true chess match, or are you trying to move to something else? And then finally, do you find yourself making a bunch of rules for people that don't really fit in your community? And I'm just going to leave this open, and we'll see where it goes over the next 10 minutes or so.
So this is Steven from Gig
Yep, we got you.
Gridiron Gamers. Cool. So touching up on your first question, we do create rules or to what's it called? To make it sim for us, or
Yep.
you put it fair play. I think most of us are around that kind of, bring the NFL experience, but still create a fair gaming community world for us. But the rules that we're creating to create what we see on Sunday, it's hard without the rules. Like we had to bring in, speed cap. Like people are using XP boosts, if they're player 1, player of the week, or the yearly awards, they would have so much XP, and they would just, speed trumps all almost in this game. So we would see players that wouldn't be these big old 90+ linebackers at speed. So we had to, curb that real quick. Yeah.
Pretty T, you're quiet over here. Give me some thoughts. Talk to me.
Well, I was just thinking about kind of 2 of the questions together about, are you making rules for the 1%, and are you trying to do you think you need the rules to be sim? And this is what I find really interesting, and we talked about this earlier about how each league represented here and all these other leagues out there, we're going to have different rules. And I think that's what's unique about CFM. If you want to play competitive, it's a no holds barred. You already know that. There's nothing to even think about. That's what all of it is the same. But in the CFM, you have these different rules, and it's actually set up to where, like you're saying, you found some guys in your league, Nate, that wasn't going to fit in because they just wasn't going to stick with these things, and you were having to create all these rules to keep them from bending the AI and stuff. Well, there's thousands and thousands of leagues out there, and
Yeah.
you can find one to fit. If you want hardly minimal rules, and that's what you want, you can find a league for that. If you want a league that's going to try their best to represent, what they think the NFL would be, but also with limitations of a video game, you're going to find one with a lot of rules, like PX's league and our league and other leagues here. There's nothing wrong with that. And like in our league, we have a 5-person committee, a rule committee of admins, and we actually have every year we do this 2 or 3 times a year, and we also encourage our users and our owners to do this throughout the year. If you find something that you think is giving an unfair advantage due to lack of AI, present us with a video. Tell us what's going on. The 5-guy committee will review it, and you can submit a rule change. Either that's a rule removal or addition. We will look over the information. We will look over and study some video on it. And if it looks like it's something that we don't think should be there, or it could be given an advantage, we just make a rule and say, all right, we're going to ban this particular thing. But it takes, the majority of the 5 to vote for that. So, we try to do it in a democratic way, and that's for the people who play in our league. There's been, and honestly, a lot of the thing that I find is if you've got guys who've been in your league for a long time, they don't need the rules, because they all want the same thing. A lot of the times, the reason you have to post and list a ton of rules is when you allow new people. You try to give new people a chance. If there's an opening, you might want to give a new person a chance. And maybe they've never played CFM. Maybe they've never experienced the fun an online CFM can be. So you want them to be able to come in and try it out and see what it's like. But when you do that, you'll also find a lot of people who will come in and say, oh, yeah, I play Sim all day. But then you'll find them using exploits all day. So basically, those list of rules are really for your new people who you try to allow in the leagues, because you don't know what you're getting out of that. Unless it's someone in your league that they've played with them in another league and can vouch for them, you do not know what you're getting. You could be getting totally anything. So you have to have these lists of rules basically for the new people. Most of the people who's been in your league for half a year or a year, they don't need them. They've already agreed to them. They like them. That's why they're in your league. So I think it really boils down to people needing to be able to accept, this league getting for me, I need to go find a league with less rules, or this league getting for me, I need to find a league with more rules. But find what fits you, and that's what's unique about CFM, I think, is there's a whole lot of different ways that you can play CFM, and you can find plenty of online leagues to fit that, whatever you're trying to be. So.
Yeah, I think there's so many deep conversations that we could have about a ton of different subjects. So I'm really interested to keep these podcasts going. And I also don't understand the vibe, at least. It may not be a real thing, but there's a vibe out there that because you're different than me, then we're in competition. And I just don't understand that. I think you said it perfectly. Every league has their own vibe that fits them. And I've learned things just from looking at your leagues. I think it was PX1's league that we took the feedback form idea, and now we make our guys submit a feedback form every week. Those guys get averages. I push out averages at the end of the year, and I'm like, here's your average. Your average is really low. You got to work on this, this, and this. Or, hey, your average is great. We also have a place where guys can submit game footage. So we can learn from each other and pick and choose what fits for you and your community. Now, Logan, I really want to hear from you because you got so much good stuff to share, but I'm sure PX1 is biting his tongue off. So before we send him to the emergency room, I got to hear from PX1.
Well, I was going to say the first thing, me and Pooty share a lot more ideas than I realized. Twitter.
I have a hard time calling a grown man Pooty. I'm just going to throw that out there. All right, Pooty. I really dig you, but I'm having a hard time calling you Pooty.
Just look up Mr. Show video of Pooty T, and they'll explain it for you.
Okay.
PX, go ahead.
I think Twitter is just so hard to really have good conversations. So stuff like this is very good.
Yeah.
No, he brought up a good point about I think a lot of our rules, and I was thinking about this, I think a lot of our rules are basically for new guys. We do have some guys that have been around that we like that kind of push the limits a little bit.
Sure.
So
I think a lot of leagues have those.
Yeah. So you do kind of try to govern some of your veteran guys, but mostly it's for new guys coming in that you're trying to protect the integrity of the league for your existing guys. So when a new guy comes in, they understand what's expected, and they're not playing their version of sim, which is a minimal rule, and then they're beating somebody and giving them a loss because they're not on the same page. So I think very much we govern for new players. The other thing that popped into my head, and this is one thing that I've really kind of come to grasp over the year, and it's something you brought up, was, are we really playing NFL football by having all the rules? And by definition, no. And that's the one thing that like competitive guys kind of laugh at us about, because, well, if you have all these rules, you're not really doing the NFL, because in the NFL you do whatever works.
Absolutely.
And you expect the other person to stop you.
Absolutely.
I think the thing that's different with sim leagues, competitive guys play 30, 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And they're going to sit in their lab and they're going to figure out everything because they have to, because they're trying to get into the money. Outside of the guys, obviously, that just go on YouTube and find something that's easy. The typical CFM guy, from what I've found, has a family, has a career, has a few hours a week to play. They don't have time for all that. So the rules largely limit those things that they just don't want to take the time to figure out. It's not that we can't. It's not that we don't have a lot of guys that can. I think, every league's probably got a handful of guys that are pretty solid. If they dedicated the time, could be pretty good. We just don't want to. And
it's just keeping it fair.
Right. And so we're just trying to balance it. But with that being said, I've even looked at our rules this year, like, the limits on routes and stuff like that. And going into Madden 18, and hopefully Madden 18 helps us, because for the last couple of years I've been saying, hey, maybe this is the year we don't have to have route limitations. Sure. And because I don't want them. I do not want them. But we also don't want to play against the guy that runs 10 corners a game. And they're going to, if we want to have guys that can run man coverage, and we can't if you don't put limits on it. So, I'm looking at our rules, and I'm trying to look at it and say, all right, how much of this is us babysitting our players that aren't as good and not forcing them to get better, and how many of them are actually limiting flaws in the AI? And that's one thing that we really want to focus on going forward, is what can we pare down and make it more of an actual NFL matchup versus, limiting too many things and taking away some of that strategy.
Logan, talk to us for a few minutes.
Yeah, I know we're up against the time here. So
no, we're good. We got at least 5 minutes or so.
Yeah. So I agree with some of what you said. Most of what you said, in essence, everyone in this podcast has said some good things. The one thing I've struggled with is being commissioner, and Steve can tell you we've had long conversations. In fact, we've gotten pretty personal on some of our conversations, but I feel like that's what a committee needs to do. They need to keep their commissioner in check. They need to keep everyone in check. And so I need people to check me. But one of my biggest things was, I was at a crossroads. It was, do we add more rules to try to go this simulation route? Or, like some of you guys mentioned, is simulation just a catchphrase that we all use to make ourselves feel better, or to draw in the casuals, I guess you would say? Because
I think you hit it right there.
Exactly. What I found was, you need core members. And once your core members buy into what you're selling, and I think we all kind of mentioned it, we all have a different brand. We have a different flavor. We're all selling a different soda. We're selling soda. We're all selling soda, but we're selling a different brand. So I stopped chasing this universal thought, and I started doing things more my way. And trust me, that it rocked the boat with some people. But what I did was, I said, let's get rid of some of these rules. Our rules aren't exactly black and white. And some people said, what the hell are you doing? If I can't do this and this, how am I going to know what's sim and what's not, fair, what's not? I said, listen, everyone knows common sense. And I feel like the more you make these rules black and white, the more people will try to find the gray area. Whereas if the rule is written in a common sense way, and someone goes out of their way to try to manipulate that, I'll punish them. And what I found was, I punish people, I give them warnings, right? And if they break the same rule with ill intent, and you can judge ill intent, you can judge a good guy and a bad guy, at least most of the time. Now, have I let some guys go that maybe needed a second chance? Possibly, but I'm okay with that. That's a thing I had to become okay with, because what I realized was I'm bringing in more people to do good than I am taking away the bad. And we did things like the ego rule. So if you're starting to beat your opponent by a lot, you have to knee the ball. You have to do things like that. Now, I understand that's not sim either. That's kind of a high school mercy rule, but we got to understand that not everyone's up to the same skill level, like you were saying. Some people only have maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour, every advance or whatever to play, and they just want to play a game that simulates professional football, But just like professional football, and I'll close on this point, there's the NFL, there's the Canadian Football League. I think we get so stuck on the NFL, trying to simulate the NFL. Really, what Nate was saying is we're trying to simulate fair play. We're trying to get like-minded people to simulate like-minded football. If that's the NFL, cool. If that's, some Canadian Football League, cool. If that's some league I created and it works with my guys, I try to focus on the guys. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head. That's a little, I try not to have soapboxes, but that's something that frustrates me. Now, the leagues that are represented here today, not so much, because you guys are very established, but I'm talking about new leagues. Every league that I see, because we have a lot of recruiting threads out there, I think it's important that people just see that we're active. And I know it rubs some people wrong, but look, I'm just trying to keep one thread going, and people know that we're very active out there league. But if you look at those threads, whether it's Daddy League, which League Crawler, who I absolutely think is doing a great thing, and I want to support. Daddy Leagues has let me write for his community, and so I really like. Of course, we all love what Daddy Leagues does, but if you look at those recruiting threads, even on EA, sim language, sim league, sim, like everyone says that they're sim. It's like a catch-all, and I think it's for recruiting. I think that use of the word is one thing, and the use of the word that all of us are trying to discuss is a completely another. And that's, again, why us personally made the decision to move to fair play. That at the end of the day, that's what that word sim used to mean, was fair play. And now that word is being abused and used in a way that doesn't quite mean that, or has been watered down and diluted. And so we've just moved over. We have FPR, fair play rules, and I've run the gamut of a lot of them and not so many to kind of, we try to hit a medium range now. But yeah, I think all of us are trying to figure that out. Lewis, I'd like to hear any closing thoughts from you as we kind of put a little bow on this. You've kind of been quiet sitting over there in Atlanta.
Yeah, from this conversation, man, it's been enlightening because I'm going through a lot of the situations that's been talked about on the phone on the show at this point. I'm dealing with guys I'm coming to see that don't fit the culture of our league, and I think I've been holding on to them too long instead of, hey, you maybe want to go find another league because we don't fit what you want to do, because they push back on any new changes, any new rule changes. They push back constantly. So from this, I take away, maybe I need to go back and have a conversation with those guys and tell them, hey, maybe this is not the place for you, and you should move on before we, start our journey to 18, and maybe we can get somebody in here who fits what we're trying to do here, as opposed to holding on. So I really thank you guys, man, because you've helped me out a lot, man, just listening to the conversation.
I think the culture of all of our leagues is so important in protecting that culture and knowing, you know what, 85% of my guys are really great fit here. They play. I don't have to worry about them. Then you got that 10 to 15% that maybe you got to kind of worry. They're the guys that you really, really like, that one of you said, but they push those boundaries as far as they can go. And those guys help me kind of rethink, okay, let me look at my rules. Where can we tweak? And then you got those guys who just, you know what, you just don't fit. All right. And that doesn't make you a bad guy or us a bad league. It just means we just don't fit. And that's fine. And you may fit somewhere else perfectly. So look, as we kind of close this up, I'd like to have each of you just the name of your league, and where can guys find you? So guys that are listening to this, maybe they're looking for a good established league. Where can guys go out there and find you? Lewis, we'll start with you.
My name is Nasty Noop. I'm the commissioner of the Dynasty. You can find us at www.thedynastymaddenleague.com, or you can find us on Twitter at the Dynasty CFM.
Logan, where can guys find you? What's your name of your league?
We use a lot of Reddit. I'm old school, so we kind of grew up in the forum world, where we were using all the forums. I don't really like social media. We tried a Facebook group. I personally do not like Twitter. I think we find a lot of immaturity from Twitter. And I try to, even though we're kind of underground and we don't use some of these good platforms, I understand. And I understand Reddit is kind of a cesspool too, but we're trying to pull that 1% that really, really care, that 1%. So I've got a lot of commissioners in my league, things like that, old school guys. And if I don't attract some of the new school guys, I understand that's part of the give and take.
Well, if guys want to find you, though, where should they connect with you? Maybe on Discord, what's your name, or where should guys go to connect with you to learn more?
Yeah, we use Discord a lot. Yeah, and I said like Reddit, you'll find us on there. I'm always recruiting on Reddit.
There you go, Gridiron Gamers on Reddit. PX1, where can we find you? Where should guys go?
We have a website. We're kind of old school too. We have a forum. We like doing the forum and creating that. px1sports.com is where you can go to find us. We are also on Twitter, as most of the guys in here know. I'm super active on Twitter. It's at px1sports. If you want to sign up and talk leagues, the website's the best place to go. But if you just want to interact or just ask questions or whatnot, Twitter's usually a good place to find me as well.
Hoodie T, where can people find you?
DaddyLeagues.com/MBC stands for Madden Ballers Club. We also have a Discord chat, which will have a widget on our homepage. If you scroll down, you can click and join our Discord. It's open to anybody who wants to come in and talk. You can also find me on Twitter at PHTYT. I'm about the only person in our league that uses Twitter, so that's why I'm on there. Trying to show support for them. And any of those places is an easy place to get in touch with us, and all are welcome to come and talk at any time.
Steven, anything you want to add that Logan maybe forgot?
Please do, by the way. I'm terrible.
We do, we're on Gridiron Gamers gig for the Discord, and right now under the Daddy's League, it's DaddyLeagues, /gig 17. And we usually change the number of what year we're on for each Madden. Right now it's 17. Next year will probably be gig 18.
Three things I want to promote before I tell you guys who we are. So I'll just tell you who we are first. We're Grown Folks Online Community. So grownfolksoc.com. You can see our website. I'm an old school dude too. We use forums. You have to use forums if you want to be a part of our community. If you're not a forum person, then please let's not waste either one of our times. And we are on Discord. That brings me, I'm also on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel, a Twitch channel. So we're kind of on all the platforms that are out there. The three things I do want to promote really quick, any leagues that are listening out there, if you're not part of Daddy Leagues, you're doing your league a disservice. You need to sign up for Daddy Leagues. You need to drop the $35 or whatever, the little bit of amount of money it is. Get you a Daddy Leagues page. If you're not part of League Crawler, you need to be a part of League Crawler, not only so that you can advertise for your league, but so that people can rate your league, so that you can earn league ratings, so that people, when they start to look for a league, they can say, hey, this league really stands out to me. They got a lot of really good ratings. Also, you can put people's PSN on there, and you can give them rankings. We all have had those owners that have not left a good taste in our mouth or a good experience in our community. Look, we need to let other guys know that, not so that they don't give them a chance, but if they do give them a chance, they at least know what they're signing up for. And then lastly, if you are not using Discord, I personally feel like you're doing your community a disservice. Now, I know there are Twitter leagues that are based out of Twitter, so that's cool if that works for you, but if you have not checked out Discord, I think you should. There's so many bots and things. Our league loves it. Guys can find everything at just the push of a button, from forums to owner lists to advanced times to videos to podcasts to everything with a code. So it's really, really, really great. But thank all of you for giving me some of your time on a Saturday morning. Please enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will connect with all of you. If there are people who are invited to this that you couldn't be here today, you'll get the next invite. We'll probably do a show in late June, maybe early July. I'm hoping, though, we'll be able to do one in late June and then maybe do 2 or 3 in July as we get ready for Madden 18. But thank you very much for being on the show today. You guys enjoy your time. Thank you for listening. Everyone that's out there, let's really push our movement. Share, like the video, get it out there, let other people listen to it. And I can't wait to see where this grows. So for Daddy Leagues, for all of our communities that are represented here today, thank you guys for tuning in. Peace out.